The Memento Archetype are a series of cards that are basically modern-day upgraded versions of old, forgotten vanilla monsters that released specifically in 1999 packs in the OCG. Or at least that applies for all of them, apart from 2 cards, but we'll cover that later. Every single monster in this archetype comes from a reimagining of their original effectless form, united by a design theming of bones and crystals. The monsters in the archetype all serve a combined purpose by trying to get as many of themselves as possible into the grave, in order to help get out their big boss monster, as well as their united form. The 2 boss monsters of the archetype aren't nostalgia cards, they're brand new, and these cards are Memento Archetype, Combined Creation, and Combined Conqueror. The use of the word memento in the cards' names is actually, well, it's kind of clever. You see, the word memento is used to describe an object that reminds or just simply warms the heart with a nostalgic feeling when looked at. I can show you exactly what that looks like in real time, by the way. You get it out of its box. Was there. That was me looking at it, having a little smile, and then reminiscing. A better example, for instance, within the context of Yugioh, is for Yugi himself, as he keeps his favorite cards inside the Millennium Puzzle box. This is because it acts as a memento for his time with the Pharaoh.
That golden box. It has a kind of glow.
You're right. This box is very special. It's where I keep my duel cards. Not every one of them, of course. Just the ones that are extra precious to me.
Of course, but I think you mean cards extra precious to you, and extra precious to the Pharaoh.
The memento monsters themselves act as a kind of breath of fresh air, reviving these old forgotten cards into new modern day forms. When you look at them, it reminds you of a simpler time. A time, for example, where Yu-Gi-Oh! Consisted of I normal summon this monster into attack, set 1 card face down, and end my turn. Those days are gone. And while I've made all of this sound so nice and heartwarming, there's actually a really sinister underlayer to this archetype. For you see, all of these monsters were dead. There is a Latin phrase, memento mori, which means remember, you must die. You see, their name isn't just a metaphorical dredging up of the past. These monsters were literally dug from the earth, gathered up their bones, smushed some gems inside of them, and revived them back into the real world. This is most obviously shown in their artworks by their skeletal designs. A hint at the long decayed state of the creatures, and the crystals that adorn their bodies are what brought them back. But where did the crystals come from? Well, from the sinister overlord of the Memento monsters, the Combined Conqueror, or as it's known in the Japanese, Never Skull King, Memento Archetype. Now this monster is based on the Aztec god of the dead, Mictlantecuhtli. Mictlantecuhtli's face was that of a skull. His role was to watch over the bones of the dead and preside over ancient festivals of the dead, which evolved into the Day of the Dead. The implication of this is that Teuthlea has brought back the dead and forgotten monsters by attaching its crystals to them. However, for what purpose, I'm not too sure. Only more support will reveal what they have planned for these monsters. Now, how about we take a look at each of the monsters, see what 1990 card they are derived from, and of course, well, what can they do? Let's start first with Key Mace. Enemies' hearts will melt at the sight of this fairy's cuteness. Resurrected, this monster becomes Memento Mace. During your opponent's main phase, if you control Memento Combined Creation, quick effect, you can discard this card, then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase. During your main phase, you can destroy 1 Memento monster you control, and if you do, add 1 Memento card from your deck to your hand, except Memento Mace. Goblin Calligrapher. A goblin who devotes himself to mastering perfect calligraphy of the word false. He gives his all to each stroke. Resurrected, it becomes Memento Goblin. During the main phase, if you control Memento Combined Creation, quick effect, you can discard this card. For the rest of this turn, your opponent cannot target Memento monsters you control with card effects. During your main phase, you can destroy one memento monster you control, and if you do, send up to 2 memento cards with different names from each other from your deck to the graveyard. Now immediately, some of you out there might be saying, whoa, wait a minute. That's not a 1999 card, and technically, yes, you're right, but you're also wrong. You see, Goblin Calligrapher came out in 2004 in the OCG. However, that card wasn't the first appearance of Goblin Calligrapher. It in fact released in the 1999 pack, Volume 5, within the artwork of a card called Fake Trap. So because of that, technically, this card is still a 1999 reimagining of a card. So, pretty cool. Wretched Ghost of the Attic. A harmless monster found lurking in just about any attic. Resurrected, it becomes Mementolan Gatic. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one memento card in your grave, add it to your hand. If this card is sent to the grave by a memento monster effect, you can special summon this card. Wretched Ghost of the Attic's kind of like the evil Karibo. You love to see it get a reimagining because it's a cool monster. It looks pretty good. Fairy Witch. Though destined to be a fairy, this creature chose the way of the witch instead. Resurrected, it becomes Mementolan Anguish. Anguish, Angry Witch, Anguish. There's a lot of layers to that. I don't know, I think it's clever. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one memento monster from your deck to your hand, except Mementolan Anguish. You can target one level 2 or lower memento monster in your grave, destroy one memento monster you control. If you do, special summon the targeted monster. Hopefully you're starting to get the gist of these cards. It's all about blowing cards up, getting your memento monsters into the graveyard, because once there's so many in there, you can do a certain something a little bit later, which we're going to find out a bit later, but that's kind of the gist we're going for. Mystical Sheep number 2. A monstrous sheep with a long tail for hypnotizing enemies. Resurrected, it becomes Mementolan Mystical Sheep. If a monster in your possession was destroyed by a card effect this turn, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can fusion summon one memento fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as material. If this card is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can send one memento card from your deck to the grave, except Mystical Sheep. The reason why this monster has a fusion ability is because Mystical Sheep number 1 has the effect of being a fusion substitute. So Mystical Sheep number 2 inherited an ability of fusing, basically. Dark Blade. They say he is a dragon manipulating warrior from the Dark World. His attack is tremendous, using his great swords with vicious power. Resurrected, it becomes Mementolan Dark Blade. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can discard one memento card, then target one spell or trap your opponent controls, destroy it. During your main phase, you can destroy one memento monster you control. If you do, special summon one level 3 or lower memento monster from your deck. Here we are again. Dark Blade is another monster that isn't technically from a 1999 pack. Nor have I found any cards that it appears in that came out in 1999 where it features in the artwork. So this one truly does break the mold, and it's a bit of a shame. This monster was released in the 2002 pack Advent of Union. And the only reason I say it's a bit of a shame is because, well, Dark Blade was a popular card, thanks to its decent stat line. Don't get me wrong, it wouldn't see any play now if it wasn't reimagined into this monster, so it's cool to see a popular card come back like this. But it already did have a little bit more extra support, and it's also not from 1999, so I don't know. I just kind of like the theme that the Memento monsters were these really long forgotten cards that some of them didn't even come out in the TCG. They were just released in the OCG. The TCG was just like, no one will ever use these, let's not release them. I feel like they should have stuck with that theming, but this is the only one to break the mold, so yeah, it's just one of those things. But if you know any cards that Dark Blade did feature in, that ties it to 1999 OCG, let me know in the comments, I'd really appreciate it. Tatsunu Toshigo, a bizarre monster with the torso of a horse and a fish's tail. It gallops through the sea as if it were the wind. Resurrected, it becomes Mementolan Tatsunu Toshigo. Its effect is if you do not control any face-up monsters other than Memento monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can destroy one Memento monster you control, send any number of Memento monsters with different names from your deck to the graveyard, whose total levels are less than or equal to the destroyed monster's original level. Tri-Horned Dragon, an unworthy dragon with 3 sharp horns sprouting from its head. Resurrected, it becomes Momentolan Horned Dragon. If you have 3 or more Memento monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Momentolan Horned Dragon once per turn this way. If this card on the field is destroyed by card effect, you can target 3 face-up cards on the field, including a Memento card you control, destroy them. Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, made by fusing Thunder Dragon and Thunder Dragon together. This monster technically doesn't have an effect, so it is a vanilla fusion monster. However, oddly enough, this monster did get some support in the future. Resurrected, it becomes Momentolan Twin Dragon. Any monster destroyed by battle with your Memento monster is banished. If this card is fusion summoned, you can destroy 1 Memento monster in your hand or face up on the field. And if you do, add up to 2 Memento monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. If this fusion summoned card is destroyed, you can special summon 1 level 6 or lower Memento monster from your graveyard. Now, this monster is the second monster not to come from a 1999 OCG pack. Whoa, pretty close to making the cut. Thunder Dragon originally released in January 2000's Volume 7 pack. Oh, 1 month off. However, maybe that's just a thing for the fusions. Main deck monsters come out in 1999, fusions come out in the year 2000. That's just a theory. We've only got the one fusion monster based off an old-fashioned vanilla fusion monster, so only time will tell. Hopefully we get more. There's a lot of vanilla fusion monsters we could work with here, so hopefully we see more. It's also worth noting that this card's effect references a level 6 or lower Memento monster. This is interesting because no such card exists. We have a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, a level 4, and a level 5, but no level 6. So perchance a level 6 Memento monster in the future? I do believe so. Should we make a prediction? I'll make a prediction. Top of my head, level 6 normal monster 1999, Neko Gao number 2, Catgirl. Why not? Come back to this video if I predicted the future correctly. Now, this deck isn't all nostalgia. We have the boss monsters of the archetype, which are brand new cards. We have what I believe to be the Necromancer, the Controller, the Resurrector of the archetype, and a possible combined form of all of them. The combined form is Memento Teuthlea Combined Creation. It cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by shuffling 5 other Memento monsters with different names from your hand and or grave into the deck or extra deck. While you control no other monsters, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect, except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 Memento monster from your hand or graveyard. Looking at this monster's artwork, we can see that its color scheme is basically that of a rainbow. All of the individual monsters in the deck all share different colors of the rainbow, so heavily hinted that this monster is a combined version of them. I'm just unclear if this is the ultimate form or if the other monster we're going to be talking about in a minute is part of this, or if they're separate entities. We need more lore, basically. I need more to work on. Now, the God of the Dead for this archetype is the Memento Fusion boss monster, Memento Ictlan Teuthlea Combined Conqueror. It's such a hard name for me to say. It requires 3 Memento monsters. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 Memento Mictlan from your deck to your hand. You cannot activate the following effects of this card in the same chain. If this card is fusion summoned, you can send 3 Memento cards from your deck and or extra deck to the graveyard. Quick effect, you can target an equal number of Memento monsters you control, and cards your opponent controls, destroy them. Now, while this monster is a newer addition to the archetype, it was actually foreshadowed and teased in the artwork of another card. The field spell, Memento Ictlan, which it can add to the hand. If your Memento monster battles, your opponent can activate spells or traps until the end of the damage step. If a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one of those monsters, special summon 1 Memento monster with a lower level from your hand or graveyard. Once per turn, during your end phase, target 1 Memento spell or trap in your graveyard, set it. Mementolan Fusion. During the main phase, fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a Memento monster. If monsters in your possession was destroyed by card effect this turn, you can also shuffle Memento monsters from your graveyard into the deck as material. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, Destroy one monster you control, and if you do, add one memento spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Looking at this card's artwork, we see different memento monster pieces and their crystals merging into a singularity, a single red crystal core. Something we see inside the combined creation and combined conquerors. However, Conquerors is a different colour. After these two integral support cards, well, we have the rest, which all have something to do with the word bone or something to do with the skeletal system or something. We have Memento Bone Back. If a face-up Memento monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, special summon one combined creation from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. If your opponent moves a Memento monster out of your graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, special summon as many Memento monsters as possible with different names from your hand or deck. Memento Bone Party. Destroy one Memento monster in your hand or face-up field, take one Memento monster from your deck with a different name, and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one Memento monster you control. If it attacks a defense position monster this turn, inflict battle damage to your opponent. Memento Cranium Bursts. While you control a Memento monster, your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack the Memento monster you control with the highest attack, their choice if tied. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you can target one combined creation you control. It loses exactly 1000 attack and defense, and if it does, negate the activated effect. You can only activate this effect of Cranium Bursts once per chain. Basically, with that card, you get the boss monster with 5000 attack points. You can negate 5 things if you really wanted to, but not in a chain, of course. Memento Fracture Dance. If you control a Memento monster, target one card on the field, destroy it. Then, if you control Combined Creation, you can destroy one more card on the field. When an attack is declared involving your Memento monster and an opponent's monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard. All monsters your opponent currently controls lose 1000 attack until the end of the turn. And with that, that was the Memento archetype done. Do I think there's going to be more support for this archetype? Yes, definitely. Will this video probably become outdated soon? Probably, most likely, but do I mind? Not really, because I actually think they're a really cool concept for an archetype, and I'd love for them to do something similar again with long forgotten cards. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below of the Memento archetype. But other than that, thank you all for watching. Catch you later.